Hello everyone, I'm Tongyu from the University of Minnesota. Today I'm going to present my paper, Redirected Tilting, Eliciting Posture Changes with a Rotational Self-Motion Illusion. When you are skiing on ice or riding a bike, it is natural for you to take a banked turn if you are negotiating a corner. You will feel more balanced when part of the normal force is providing the centripetal force to keep you moving in a circle. What about if you are traveling along a curved trajectory inside VR? Without any vestibular feedback, users may start to experience cyber sickness. So, can we use bank turn in VR to mitigate cyber sickness? In this work, we proposed redirected tilting, a novel technique to mitigate cyber sickness when the users are traveling along a curved trajectory in the virtual environment. Redirected tilting involves rotating the virtual environment towards the turning direction around the headset's roll axis. With VR view tilting inward, this imitates the visual response of dragging the body to the rotation center using centripetal force. We hypothesized rotating the virtual environment could lead users to tilt their bodies in the same direction. As an initial exploration, we conducted a study to determine if it is possible to visually induce head tilt during virtual locomotion. We found redirected tilting successfully elicited head tilt, although the magnitude of rotation was smaller than our expectation. Previous techniques to mitigate cyber sickness are often motivated by minimizing sensory conflict. For example, dynamic field of view works by reducing the visibility of peripheral areas. Another example is the static and dynamic rest frames, which provide static objects for users so that they can use them as a stationary reference. Compared with existing techniques, redirected tilting is inspired by postural instability theory. What is postural stability? Postural stability is defined as a state where uncontrolled movements of the perception and action systems are minimized. According to this theory, prolonged exposure to postural instability will cause people to feel motion sickness. Redirected tilting focused on modifying system dynamics to elicit a more stable body pose. As I have mentioned before, a tilted body pose is more natural and balanced for users when they are turning. The major advantage of redirected tilting is that it won't reduce the visibility of the virtual environment. We conducted a user study to determine if manipulating the virtual environment towards the rotational center can elicit head tilt. We also want to evaluate the effect of different tilting parameters. The user study was a within-subject design. All the conditions were counterbalanced. As shown here, There were 5 conditions in this study. 4 experimental conditions was a combination of the 2 factors, tilting rate and max tilt angle. The 2 factors of redirected tilting each had 2 different levels. The lower tilt angle was 5 degrees, while greater tilt angle was 10 degrees. And for tilt rate, the slower tilt rate was 5 degrees per second, while the faster tilt rate was 10 degrees per second. And there was also a control condition without any redirection. During each trial, participants' task was to navigate around a 90-degree corner repeatedly. Each condition was repeated 10 times, 5 turning toward the left and 5 turning toward the right. The locomotion was automatic. Participants can only push the joystick forward to start moving. After that, the program controls their movement along a fixed path, and the virtual environment will tilt towards the turning direction when turning started, as shown in this video here. We recorded participants' head position and rotation during each frame. And here is an example of the recorded data from one trial. Y-axis is the degrees, while x-axis is the time order of each frame. The blue line is the redirection we applied. As you can see, the rotation of the virtual environment increased gradually until it reached a max angle, which is 5 degrees in this case. The orange curve is the recorded head roll rotation in degrees. For each trial, the elicited head tilt was calculated by averaging the head roll rotation during this 1 second window marked in the red box and subtracted to the rest head roll rotation as shown here in this green line. We evaluated the effectiveness of redirected tilting by calculating the gain of head tilt. The gain of head tilt is the elicited head tilt theta diff divided by the max tilt angle of the virtual environment. We have 3 hypotheses in this study. Hypothesis 1 is that all the experimental conditions can elicit head tilt towards the turning center. Hypotheses 2 and 3 are about the parameters. We hypothesize that slower tilt rate and larger max roll rotation will result in higher elicited tilt angle. Here are the average head tilt gain for all participants. The x-axis denotes all the participants ordered by their gain, and y-axis is the average head tilt gain of each participant. We can see that 6 participants were tilting outwards. Their head tilt gain was negative. And 21 participants tilted towards the turning direction as we expected. So we can divide the participants into 2 groups, tilting inward group and tilting outward group. This is an unexpected result. We believe 2 different groups represent qualitatively different responses to redirected tilting. And because the amount of participants in tilting inward group is fairly small, we could not statistically compare the head tilt between these 2 groups. For the tilting inward group, we conducted a Friedman test to compare the elicited head tilt between conditions. Post-hoc analysis showed that all experimental conditions elicited head tilt towards the turning center compared with the control group. As a result, hypothesis 1 was supported. On the other hand, tilt rate did not have significant impact on the elicited head tilt. Group LS and LF have no significant differences. So do GS and GF. So hypothesis 2 was not supported. However, there was significant difference between lower max tilt angle conditions and great max tilt angle conditions. Significant difference was found between LS and GS and between LF and GF. So hypothesis 3 was supported. So for this study, we found a minority of participants tilted their heads toward the opposite direction. Maybe the tilt rate was too fast. Further investigation is needed to see if changing parameters, like having a slower tilt rate, can reduce the number of participants who tilted oppositely. Also, we found that the posture sway was higher in the tilting outward group than tilting inward group. This result may suggest that tilting inward can help maintain body balance better. In conclusion, we proposed redirected tilting in this work. We also evaluated a few different tilting parameters. We found that redirected tilting can elicit tilting in the same direction for the majority of participants. For the next step, we plan to find the ideal movement parameters to maximize the gain of head tilt. After that, we will formally evaluate the effect of redirected tilting on cyber sickness. In the end, we would like to thank Courtney Hutton-Pospick for her assistance with the paper. We would also like to thank XRDRM for creating an online VR study platform during the pandemic. And this work is supported by the National Science Foundation. That's all, thank you.